Welcome to From the Couch Sports Talk Radio Football Roundtable. Please like, share, subscribe, notify for all our latest content. I am Sean, your host. I'm joined here by Dave. David, how are you doing today?
Hey, what's happening, Sean, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Kind of a little bit of a slow week for news. We are going to start on a somber point. Jim Marshall, one of the Purple People Eaters, passed yesterday. I do have this little clip I do want to share here real quick. It's less than a minute. Share screen. How the hell? Present. Share screen. There we are. There we go. It's not working. Okay, so I'm not going to share this. But anyway,
Wait a minute. Let me see. Is it up there? Oh, no, you didn't download it. You're sharing your screen. Sorry.
Yeah, I was trying to get it was
that the clip of the infamous behind the back lateral that went, or like when he went to the end zone the wrong way and threw it out of bounds?
No, it wasn't that one. It was just Fran Tarkenton spoke today for a clip of about a minute, just like he was our best and everything like that. No, I kind of wanted to do it in memorandum, but I didn't have time to do anything like that. So anyway, so we're going to skip that. But yeah, he was the guy who picked up the ball and ran the wrong way for the safety. So
yeah, pretty bad that his memorable play is the one that lives in infamy is the one where he screwed up.
Yeah. And considering he had so many other great plays, and that's I guess there's no news on the Aaron Rodgers Pittsburgh Steelers front.
No.
I don't know.
Sean, I got to ask your thoughts. You know, is it time for the, and I am so torn. I get that Pittsburgh wants, a good quarterback. I get that. But at some point, from a franchise standpoint, I just got to ask you, don't you think the time is to either say, be there, or, I got to move forward with the guys I have, because how can I instill confidence in my entire team if I'm holding out hope that you're going to come and be the savior?
It's past that time. I think that time happened right after the draft, where they didn't draft the quarterback and they didn't sign him right away. I think that's where they should have just cut the ties and said, you know what, we're moving on. It's just how is if I'm a player in that locker room, our season's being held up by this guy, and we don't have any idea. All the signs point to he's going to sign, but and I know Rodgers does. He's like, I'm 42. I don't want to do OTAs. I just I'll come in when training camp starts. But come on, man, you gotta develop a rapport with your teammates. And at this point, I think the Jets look foolish with a lot of the moves they did, especially with Aaron Rodgers and whatever. I think this makes the Pittsburgh Steelers, a once very proud organization, look like the New York Jets.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm sorry. I just, you're holding out like the White Knight's going to come on the horse and save the day. And to me, like I said, you got Mason Rudolph, you got Skylar Thompson, you got Will Howard. Okay, it's time to move forward. I don't see the point anymore in waiting for a 41-year-old quarterback to decide what he wants to do. As a franchise, you have to move forward, and you got to put faith in the guy.
Uh-oh, either I'm freezing or you froze. And that is an ugly face to be frozen on. Okay.
Hold on. Is it unfrozen?
Yep, you're unfrozen now.
All right. I don't know why I did that, but no, like I said, I just look at it where it's time to move forward. It's time to move on and put confidence in the guys that you have. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and here's my biggest thing about it. The Steelers aren't winning the AFC North with them anyway.
Right. Exactly.
They're not. You know, and so at this point, you know, if I'm a Steeler fan, I understand that Tomlin has created a crazy great legacy of never having a losing season. Like, there's never been a coach who hasn't had a losing season. You know, if he retired last year and said, I'm done coaching and get a new coach, okay, that cements it, and he was a great coach. Now, you know, what are they doing here? Really? And sometimes...
And I was going to say, Sean, to your point, if there's any time to have a losing season, it's now. I mean, in all honesty, I know as a storied franchise, you never want to have a losing season, but have one. Now you have a quarterback class that is better than the last two. Have a losing season. Get your 15-year guy. Okay, Mike Tomlin, you've been coaching 21 seasons? You have your 21st season, your losing season. And then guess what? It's not like you're on the hot seat. It's not like you're a guy that needs to get your quarterback right this year or you're fired. That's not reality. So have your losing season, get your quarterback established for your next 10 or 12 years. And then you can have 10 or 12 more years of winning football. But to sit here and keep doing this and relying on 36 to 40-year-old veterans to come in to solidify your legacy is not having a losing season. And even with Aaron Rodgers, you're not guaranteed to have a winning season either. So to me, it's just, even a Teddy Bridgewater, Anthony, absolutely. Why not? I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, at least give Mason Rudolph competition. You know, so to me, you're absolutely correct. But like I said, have a losing season. Draft your quarterback next year. Set your franchise up for the next 10, 15 years if you get that franchise quarterback in the draft. There's nothing wrong with it. You're not a coach on the hot seat. Your franchise isn't going to crumble, and your fan base your fan base would probably cheer louder if you did that. I mean, in all honesty.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like when you look at the New England Patriots. I mean, they had so many years. They were just so good, and the fan base got used to it. And, yeah, they've fallen off, and their fan base was not happy. But at the same time, if I was a New England fan, I'd be like, yeah, I'll take 2 shitty years. And
sure.
Not to say that they're going to win the AFC East this year, because I don't think they're going to. But it's looking better. Except
their franchise is getting back on the right track, and you know, they're going to be talented enough where at least the AFC East will be a challenge. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that Buffalo doesn't falter at some point and New England comes up or Miami or whatever. It's the NFL. It's a cyclical league. Everything happens. You know, I don't expect Buffalo to be a dominant AFC East perennial champion for 20 years like the Patriots. I'm not a unrealistic fan or whatever. It happens. Teams rise, teams fall. You know, the good teams figure out a way to stay competitive. But at the end of the day, New England, they kept Belichick for 2 years, couldn't get the job done. They let him go. They brought in Mayo. They drafted May. Now they're getting their team together. And that's what a good team, that's what a team that wants to get back to winning because they're used to it does. They'll take a couple of years sacrifice to retool, revamp, restockpile the talent pool, and then when the time is right and it all comes together, they'll be ready to go.
Yep. And if you want to hear from Eric, I'm about to make a comment where I'm sure Eric will probably crash his car and get online. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are starting to become the Dallas fucking Cowboys.
Sure.
Think about it. Mediocre, and they're not making the right decisions, and you're better off having a shit couple of years and rebuilding. But they're just maintaining this 9-8, 9-8, 9-8. This is the Dallas fucking Cowboys.
Well, and again, to your point, would you rather be? Look at it. This is my analogy. Would you rather be the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Cleveland Browns? Everybody knows the Browns are bad. Everybody knows that their franchise in turmoil. Everybody knows that they don't have the talent to compete. And you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and basically, minus the record, you're in the exact same boat. You're not doing anything to move your franchise in any direction other than the middle of the pack. That's all you're doing. You're maintaining mediocrity. So what is the real difference? There isn't any, other than the fact that you have 5 or 6 more wins in a year. Other than that, and 5 or 6 more wins in a year can easily be a quarterback or a kicker missing a field goal.
Yeah, but
I get that, Anthony, but the problem with the George Pickens and a DK Metcalf on the same team is, number one, you get the headache, because look at DK Metcalf comes with his own problems, and the fact that George Pickens was a problem unto himself. And I see George Pickens being a problem in Dallas. Okay, maybe he's not. Maybe he's playing for salary for the next team he goes to as a free agent, because maybe he becomes a good boy and shuts his mouth and realizes that he isn't going to get paid $35 million in Dallas next year, because they're not going to pay CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens that money when they still have to pay Micah Parsons. So, if George Pickens was smart, he'd shut up, go catch the ball, be quiet, have a good season, catch about 80 passes, 1,000 yards, go out and sign his lucrative contract. But the writing was on the wall in Pittsburgh that he was a problem, a headache, and that situation was not going to last, especially with the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh being what it was. There's just no way that was happening. So I think it's a better move to get rid of him from a wide receiver room standpoint.
Definitely. And the thing is that DK Metcalf could kick the living crap out of George Pickens. CeeDee Lamb, not so much. It was definitely, I think getting rid of him was a good move for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but would they have been better served keeping him? Absolutely. But the thing is, he has proven to be such a problem that if they kept him, they're going to have to pay him big money next year. And They're like, we don't want to do that. DK, I forgot. I don't know how long DK's been in the league. He's been in there for, 6 years?
2017, I think, or 2018.
Okay, so he's kind of running the end of his lifespan as a receiver. Pittsburgh's in a jam. I don't quite get it.
The George Pickens trade was nothing more then the way I look at the Bills Stephon Diggs situation, it was addition by subtraction. You got rid of a problem, you got a draft pick, and again, Dallas gave up a third round draft pick for him. So you're looking at Pittsburgh. If you look at their draft capital, they have a first, 2 seconds, 3 thirds. So next year, you're definitely, from a draft capital perspective, they won that trade. Pittsburgh won that trade. Without question, they won that trade. Because, again, it's addition by subtraction. Everybody thought the sky was going to fall on Buffalo because they got rid of Stephon Diggs. It's addition by subtraction because you don't have the drama. You don't have to deal with, there was a sideline reporter who had an interview, and she was talking about George Pickens. And she said, as a sideline reporter, she's never in her time covering the sidelines has ever had to watch a team have to go over to one player during the course of a game and either console him or talk to him or get his head into the game or do this or do that. And, you can't have that. You're a professional athlete. You're a professional football player. And when you have that issue that's presenting itself on the sideline during the course of a game, the problem's probably amplified tenfold inside the locker room. And teams just can't survive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that being said, I just love the fact that you never admitted that Stephon Diggs was a problem, and we all said he was, but now he's a problem. But
no, I didn't. Stephon Diggs wasn't a problem so much in the fact that what I mean is he might have been a diva and there might have been issues. But what I mean by that, Sean, is it was the problem. But what you never saw, except maybe one time, it was never a problem on the field. Anything that was going on, I don't think it was so much between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, because I don't think that ever played itself out.
No, that wasn't the problem.
George Pickens had a problem with every quarterback who threw him the ball, every quarterback who didn't throw him the ball, every play that didn't go to him. Stephon Diggs, you didn't see that on the field. Whatever those issues were with Stephon Diggs, okay, that we don't know about, they were kept behind closed doors. And for the good of the team and for the good of him and for the good of whatever Buffalo was doing, okay, they moved on from whatever that issue was. Very quietly, very low key. Okay, we're going to trade you to the Texans. We're going to get our second round pick. And everybody goes on. There's no drama. There's no big to do. But again, business is business. Stephon Diggs was professional on the field. George Pickens is not a professional. You don't see that drama. You know what I mean? Very rarely does it run.
Okay. Well, okay. If he's getting the ball more to CD, he's smoking. Okay. Yeah,
absolutely.
Very true. Stephon Diggs is dating Cardi B. So got to give my, tip my hat to that. Josh Allen got married. Hats off to that. And David, you would make a great politician. I think you should run for Shiloh City Council next year.
Hey, well, again, Steph's in trouble too, man. I mean, I don't know if he was giving out Pepto-Bismol on that boat because, maybe people were getting seasick. So he wanted to just pass around a bag full of pink Pepto-Bismol so everybody's stomach would relax. But
everybody knows the most effective way to get Pepto-Bismol in your system is to smoke it. So anyway, yeah. So just like you, David, that was Pepto-Bismol you just took, wasn't it?
Well, sure was.
All righty. So what we're going to do here for the rest of the program real quick is we're going to go through the second half of last year's draft and the teams and the grades they got and what we think. And then right after that, David downloaded the Sports Illustrated 100 bold predictions for next season. And we're going to start at number 100 and work our way back. We're going to do 10 a week, every week. And listen to this because I got to tell you, some of the worst predictions last year was made by these Sports Illustrated writers, and I would think if you're like working for a sports magazine, you would have
Well,
some type of
and again, Sean, I just want to say these are bold predictions. These are not our buy or sell that we do later on in the year. But
correct.
Again, these are just bold predictions.
It is kind of a buy or sell, but we're just going to make fun of Sports Illustrated on this one.
Yes, we are.
Okay. So in last year's draft, the Houston Texans, number 17, came in at 17 with a class grade of B-. And they picked up Kamari Lassiter, cornerback, Blake Fisher, offensive tackle.
Sean, hold that for 1 second. Keep going.
You want? I'm good. Oh, okay. Kalen Bullock, safety. Cade Stover, tight end. Jamal Hill, linebacker. Jawar Jordan, running back. 7th round was Solomon Byrd, Marcus Harris, and Ladarius Henderson. The people who played for them, Lassiter played 14 games, started 14 games. So I guess that was a pretty good pickup. Blake Fisher, the offensive tackles, played 15 games, only started 5. And Kalen Bullock, the safety, played in 17 games and started 13. So not a terrible draft class. The tight end, Stover, started 9 games, played in 15. Not bad. There's nobody on that draft board that's jumping out at me saying, oh, my God, this was such a great pick. But they didn't have a first-round pick because they had given it for C.J. Stroud to Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Anything major there that you see, David?
No. Houston is what they are. I mean, again, you give up Stroud. I mean, he didn't have I guess if you look at it from what Stroud did last year, it was a regression. And the Texans as a whole, their draft class kind of, it could have been better, but based on the injuries that Houston got, I think that's why their grade was what it was.
Yeah.
So,
and it's going to be interesting to see this year how Jalen Daniels and Caleb Williams, now they have tape on them.
Sure.
Okay, so in 18th, ranked 18 out of 32, the New England Patriots got a B-.
Mm-hmm.
Drake May, first round. Okay, I give that a thumbs up right there.
Sure.
Jalen Polk, the wide receiver, played in 15 games, started in 7. I don't even know who the fuck that is.
Yeah. Again, nothing spectacular.
Yep. Caden Wallace. Layden Robinson, the guard. He played in 13 games, 11 starts. That's also because someone got hurt. Javon Baker, wide receiver, 1 start, 11 games. And the rest of them, Dial, Milton the third, and Bell, tight end. I think that's a pretty good grade at a B+.
No, I'd give that a C-. The only substantial asset they got out of that was Drake May.
Yeah,
everybody else is lackluster at best. So if you're asking me, I'd give it a C-. I want to see what Drake May does this year. They got a new coaching staff, brought in Steph Diggs to help the receiving. They added Travion Henderson this year. So, yeah. And so, like I said, I think for the draft class as a whole, they were given a B-. I'd give them a C-. And we'll see what this year, what Drake May, if he becomes the guy that I think he's going to become with the assets and the team around him and the coaching staff, I'll reserve that as a C-.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give him. I agree with the B- just because they drafted a starting quarterback, and anytime you do that, that's a win. So many times quarterbacks just fade out. So okay, so 19th, the Seahawks, they got a C+. So now we're moving into the C's. they picked up a defensive tackle, Byron Murphy. Christian Hayes, a guard. Tyrese Knight, a linebacker. AJ Barner, tight end. A Pritchett, quarterback. And really, the only other person was Michael Jarrell, the offensive tackle. And
I would agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, Sean? You know what? Instead of going through each team, talking about each one they drafted, go through and take a look and see if somebody's like draft class is in the C's where you think it should be elevated based on what they gave them in the draft class.
All right.
Like look at the teams like who you think overachieved last year out of the bottom tier, and let me know what your perspective is on those teams.
All right. Well, the Colts they got graded a C plus, and I don't see anybody there whatsoever.
No.
Cardinals actually. Here we go. They got Marvin Harrison.
Yep.
And then Tip Riemann, the tight end. Didn't he kick ass, or is it another tight end?
No, it's a different tight end.
Okay. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Sure.
Okay, I guess that's it. They had another person in the first round, defensive lineman, who he was shit anyway.
Who is that?
Darius Robinson played in 6 games, no starts.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I mean, Harrison Jr., it definitely needed help in that area. So, it was good. But, again, I think the team as a whole had a bunch of holes to fill. So.
All right. The Falcons got a C. They, Michael Penix. That's really the only contributor they had out there. Jesus.
Oh, again, I'd probably move them up to a B minus. Michael Penix is their starter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they drafted it they graded it probably based on the fact that they signed Kirk Cousins to that mega deal, and then they draft Penix in the first round when they could have probably helped different positions. But at the end of the day, you saw what happened with Kirk Cousins coming off his Achilles and having a quarterback there in Michael Penix, now having him start the last half of the year, now coming back into being a half year starter. They're a little bit ahead of the curve than what they could have been, having to draft a rookie this year. So could have been forward thinking that actually paid off.
Yeah. The Jets, they didn't have a good one. They got one starting guy out of that. Bengals, they got the offensive tackle Mims and defensive tackle Jenkins. The third round wasn't bad with Burton's a wide receiver. He did shit.
Well, actually, Jermaine Burton came in when Higgins was hurt, and he played pretty decent. I would probably give them more of a B minus to a B. Again, and now you got the Trey Hendrickson situation. So again, you're talking about adding to your defensive line to help. Your offensive line always needs help in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So
and they were graded a C.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys are a C. Tyler Guyton, Nealand, linebacker, Marist Lufo, but I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So I guess I'd stick them with a C still.
Maybe a D.
Yeah. Well, Carolina Panthers, they gave a C grade to. They got Leggett, round 1.
Mm-hmm.
Traven Wallace, linebacker. He was all right.
Yeah.
Jatavion Sanders, a tight end. He played a bunch.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Everyone else kind of. So.
Well, what Mr. Packers all the way says? What about the Packers? Where did they grade the Packers at last year?
Vikings.
Now I like their draft class this year a lot better than last year. Definitely a lot better than last year.
Yeah, hang on. I think they were pretty
weren't
good.
Weren't they like a B plus or a B?
I'm getting there. Raiders, Bucks, 6, Giants, Eagles, San Francisco 8, Ravens 9. Green Bay Packers was a B plus, ranked number 10, and they got number 1 round was Jordan Morgan, offensive line. He played in 6 games, 1 start. Edrin Cooper, Javon Bullard, the DB, Marshawn Lloyd didn't play. Tyron Hopper, linebacker. 4th round, Evan Williams, Jacob Monk, Kaiton Oladapo.
I think a couple of those guys, and they probably maybe should have. They were a B plus. Did you say?
Mm-hmm.
They probably fall to a B just because of the lack of some of the guys they got used. But don't sleep on Marshawn Lloyd this year. I think he's going to have a big role in that offense to spell what's his name, Josh Jacobs.
Right.
And I think he wasn't healthy last year, if I'm not mistaken. So I think with his health coming back and being able to play, I think you're going to see that 1-2 punch like the Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon type running style that they were used to having. And I think that's what they were going to try to do with Marshawn Lloyd and Josh Jacobs. But because of his health, I don't think that really got off the ground. I do like their 2 first picks, though. The Javon Bullard and but I do next year when we talk about the 25 class, I think the Packers are going to have one of the better graded classes between their 2 wide receivers, Golden and Savion Williams. So,
yeah, absolutely. Ranked 28 out of 32 last 2024. The Detroit Lions. Terrion Arnold, corner. He played.
Good. He played well.
And Sion Vaki, the running back, played in 16 games. Never heard of him.
Yeah.
And then Wingo, the defensive tackle. So they did not have a very good draft.
Well, I mean, it's hard to grade a draft when your team was what, 15-2 or 16-1,
right?
And say they were a bad team or whatever. I mean, it's hard to judge drafts based on what your team already had. I mean, you're adding depth, but Terrion Arnold was a home run, and if you look at what the Lions already had on their roster for rookies to come in and just contribute right away, I think that's tough. But Terrion Arnold didn't. He did a hell of a job. So, I mean, I would give the individual grade of Arnold an A plus.
Right.
Again, it's hard to crack a lineup that's that good.
Yeah, they got a C minus. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the one thing that's tough because I mean, you're drafted. There's so many players that you could draft, and then you get some home runs and you get some ones that just fizzle, man. And it's tough.
Well, some of them don't even get a chance to play because your team is so deep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In number 29 is the Kansas City Chiefs at a C minus. They got Xavier Worthy, Kingsley Sumatari. I can't. These Jaden Hicks, Jaden Wiley, Hunter Norzad is the center. He played in 17 games, and they gave him a C minus.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll pump him up a little bit.
Again, I look at it as a team that has again, you're drafting more complementary players than actual. I mean, Xavier Worthy played, and he played a lot. And he had a decent year. But again, it's hard to grade these teams when your roster is pretty much locked, and you're trying to fight people that are proven starters, and you're returning basically your whole team. So, Amato, the number 2 pick, he's not that bad.
No.
And so again, I think it's just hard to really grade. I mean, you don't expect the team with the 32nd pick overall to have an A+ draft, because that means if you have an A+ draft, that means all your players are contributing and starting, and that doesn't happen on deep teams.
Yeah. Ranked number 30, the Buffalo Bills, D+.
Yep.
Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, Dwayne Carter, running back Ray Davis, but
I like Ray Davis. I think he's probably, in terms of the most consistent of those first 4 you've said, he was probably the most consistent.
Okay. I don't know. Keon Coleman seems like a pretty fucking good pickup to me.
Well, no, Keon Coleman is. The problem is Keon Coleman got injured. And then after he came back, he wasn't the same because of his wrist. Cole Bishop got hurt in training camp and didn't really come back until the end, so he never really had a chance to develop.
Well, he played in 16 games, so.
Bishop played in 16 games? He dressed for 16.
He played in 16 games. He started in 4. So he didn't start until the very end of the season.
Yeah, well, like I said, I would give this draft an incomplete. I wouldn't even give it. I wouldn't even give it. I'd give it an incomplete. Dwayne Carter got hurt. Coleman got hurt. Bishop got hurt. The only guy who really didn't get hurt was Ray Davis.
Right.
All
right. Well, number 31, the Minnesota Vikings. They got a D. They got J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner in the first round. Then they had nothing till the 4th round, and the only person who played anything was Will Reichard, the kicker.
This would be an incomplete class.
Yeah, we're gonna find out this year.
Well, exactly.
And then last but not least, can you guess which team had the worst draft of the 20?
Cleveland Browns.
There you go, my friend. Wow. This is just so bad. I mean, I'm a Jet fan, and it hurts. It fucking hurts. But being a Cleveland Browns fan is like next fucking level, man. So they got Michael Hall, Zach Zinter, Jamari Thrash, wide receiver, Nathaniel Watson, linebacker. It's
they deserve to be where they are.
Yeah. Wow.
No surprises on that list.
No, it's so terrible.
It is.
I feel for them. Okay, so that's really the regrades. The 2020 draft regrade that'll be interesting.
We'll do that next week. We'll discuss that next week in depth. We will go over the 2020 NFL draft regraded, what we all think, and stay tuned for that.
Yeah,
I want a lot of discussion on that, because that's where you find out who these people, how they were graded, where they ended up, how the bad players became good and the good players that were A pluses were really Fs. So that's where you really find out.
Yeah. Well, we're going to just review one team real quick right now from the 2020 draft to just prove what we're saying. The New Orleans Saints drafted Cesar Ruiz, Zach Bond, Adam Troutman, and Tommy Stevens. Can someone say who? That's it. They have 4 picks.
Yep. And here's the problem. Cesar Ruiz, a pretty decent guard and center. Zach Bond, all pro in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Troutman, he was a tackle, right?
Tight end.
Oh, tight end? Nothing. And then who was the other one?
Tommy Stevens, quarterback.
Nothing. So Cesar Ruiz became a pretty steady anchor on the line for New Orleans. Zach Bond flourished in Philly, and the other 2 are irrelevant. And what grade did they give that draft?
I don't have the grade. I just have that's who they drafted.
Oh, okay.
So we were going to grade that. I would give that a D.
I would give that a C minus for them. For the individual players, I would regrade the players. I could grade you the players. Like Bond today would be an A based on his play in Philly, not in his play in New Orleans. But
right.
So, but we'll do that next week.
Okay, and I'll look up the draft grades from right after the draft on all these. Okay, so David, I'm going to turn it over to you because you have the Sports Illustrated top 100 bold predictions.
Bold prediction. So I'm going to start. I'm not starting at 100 because at 100 through like the first 10 or 12, they were stupid things. Like it says like 89, for example, this bold prediction. It says CBS will experiment with broadcast featuring 50% AI Sparrowditis. Like they're going to AI this guy during his the broadcast. Okay, So here I am at number 88. This is a bold prediction from Sports Illustrated. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will win the NFC South again. I don't really think that's a bold prediction.
No, that's not a bold prediction, and I agree with that. I think we all would agree with that. Okay,
I can agree with that. Number 87. Now this one might be a little bold. The Chicago Bears will win 8 games.
Ooh, I'd have to take a look at the schedule again.
Well, let's see. They play the Lions, the Vikings, and who else is in the North?
Packers.
So you would assume they would have to split every divisional game for them to go 8-8. I don't see the Chicago Bears winning 8 games this year. They'll be better than last year.
Okay, hang on here. Okay. They open up with the Vikings, Detroit, then they go Dallas. I think they could beat Dallas at home. Then they go to the Raiders, Commanders, Saints. They can win that one. That's 2. Ravens, Bengals, Giants. That's 3. Then Judas Priest will play at Phoenix. And Minnesota Steelers at home. If Aaron Rodgers is in there, I definitely think they can win that game. But if Aaron Rodgers is playing, Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose to the Chicago Bears. So we'll go 4 because Rodgers isn't done yet. Eagles, Packers, Browns. Okay, that's 5. Packers, San Fran,
and Lions.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think 8 is enough. Maybe they're going to put it together, but no, I think 5, maybe 7 if they split with Minnesota, and yeah, they won't split with the other 2. Okay,
All right. The next one, Micah Parsons will win the Defensive Player of the Year.
No,
No.
I'm a Cowboy fan, and I love me some Micah Parsons. But
No.
mark my words, Micah Parsons will be a Philadelphia Eagle in the next 2 years.
Very well. Number 85. I don't think Micah Parsons wins the Defensive Player of the Year either. I think Joey Bosa has a better chance of winning Defensive Player of the Year over Micah Parsons.
I agree.
Not that he's going to. I'm not saying that he's going to.
No.
But I think Micah Parsons has a better chance than TJ Watt. Now let's see if Eric's watching.
No, he's still talking to the cops from when I called the Pittsburgh Steelers the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, there you go.
We were just called new Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I gotcha. So number 85, Walter Nolan will lead all rookies in tackles for loss and all rookie defensive tackles in sacks. Walter Nolan, Arizona Cardinal defensive tackle, will lead all rookies in tackles for loss and defensive tackles in sacks.
No. No, not in the NFC West. Abdul Carter. I know.
He's a defensive end. Abdul Carter's a defensive end. I'm talking defensive tackles.
Tackle?
So you're talking, yeah, you're
rookie defensive tackle.
Yes. I think he has a shot.
I think he has a shot too. I don't think I can commit to yes, he's going to. I think the Cardinals are so bad.
I think it's gonna be between him and Kenneth Grant. The the tackle with the Dolphins. All right. Okay. So here's one that's kind of not obscure, but just maybe it could be, maybe. So 84. George Patton, Broncos, Brandon Beane, Bills, John Spytek, Raiders, John Schneider, Seahawks, Joe Horowitz, Chargers, and Elliott Wolf of the Patriots will be the top candidates for Executive of the Year.
Holy shit. So they give us 6 guys that are going to be like, these are going to be the top 6, all 6 of them?
Well, they're the top candidates.
I know all the candidates, but
so again, let's look. George Patton with the Broncos done an amazing job over the last 2 years putting that and assembling that team. Yeah. Okay, so definitely one. Brandon Beane after this draft class, if the defensive players and the strategy that he did comes together, I can see that.
I'm okay with Brandon Beane being there. That's fine.
John Spytek, the Raiders.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. Bringing in Geno, drafting, doing the things.
Pete Carroll, Geno, the draft they had. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
John Schneider, the Seahawks.
No.
Bringing in Darnold. Moving on from Metcalf. Getting that pick. I don't know. Like I said, sometimes addition by subtraction. They drafted Emeka Mbuka. Now they got Mbuka and JSN. They kind of changed up the offense a little bit.
I know. It's just the whole Sam Darnold thing. And
again,
the Seahawks are about to figure out what the Jets knew is Sam is just not a good quarterback. And he just hucked the ball up half the time last year, got lucky. So no.
All right, that's fine. I mean, I get it, but I can see why they might say it. Joe Horowitz of the Chargers. That might be, bringing in Harbaugh, drafting the Trey Harris, upgrading your receiving core a little bit. Adding the running back Marion Hampton to your Najee Harris you picked up in free agency, trying to retool your running game, give the offense the weapons that Harbaugh needs to make his team succeed. But I mean, that all goes into it. And then Elliott Wolf of the Patriots. I would say, yeah, based on what the moves they've made to become an improved team, I would definitely say he should be up there.
Yeah, so, Vrabel alone. Vrabel is going to turn that team around, and he's gonna repeat a Belichick kind of shit. Yeah, definitely.
Number 83. Travis Hunter will play on offense 3 times as often as he plays on defense. Maybe.
No. He's going to play 3 times more on offense than defense?
Yep. No. So basically, if he played 100 defensive plays, he'd play 300 offensive plays.
No.
So, again, it depends on how often the Jaguars' defense is on the field as opposed to their offense. Number 82. Drake May will finish with the highest PFF grade among all quarterbacks drafted in 2024. No. I think Jaden Daniels finishes ahead of him. I think he finishes 3. I think it's Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Drake May.
I don't know. That one could be. That could come true for his grade.
And right. And again, I don't know PFF's grading system, but but again, it depends on their completion percentage, their yards, air vertical yards, all kinds of stuff, whatever their grading system is. So
okay,
we'll see. But I think. I'm sorry. Out of the 24 class, I think Daniels, Nix, and Drake May will be in the top 3, depending on what order you want to put them. However, PFF grades their talent.
Okay. All right.
Number 81. A tedious NFL long road will drop in week. A tedious NFL long read will drop in week 16 that details and villainizes Nick Sirianni for benching Saquon Barkley amid his record pursuit in week 18 last year.
No. And specifically because they have him going over to Saquon and saying, hey, you're this many yards away from the record. Do you want to get it? And Saquon said, no, let the young kids eat.
Right.
So, no, that's dispelled already.
This is dumb. I don't even know if I should read this because this is dumb. Number 80. Mac Hollins will have a harder time convincing his new teammates not to wear shoes.
I don't even know who the fuck that guy is.
Mac Hollins, the wide receiver that signed with New England from Buffalo. He always walked around not wearing shoes.
Okay.
So, yeah, he'll have a harder time convincing the Patriots players not to wear shoes than he did the Buffalo Bills. Stupid.
Okay. That's a good one. If I was writing an article, I would throw that in there. That's a good little bit of comedy. I like it.
All right. 78. Jaden Higgins will lead rookie wide receivers in yards from scrimmage.
No. Who did he get drafted by? Sorry.
What's that?
Who did he get drafted by?
The Texans.
No. Sorry. I don't agree with that one.
He has a shot.
No.
He has a shot because he's probably going to slide into the number 2 spot in Houston.
Well, I mean, Tank Dell has
Tank Dell will be out all year.
my bold prediction is I don't think Tank Dell comes back to the NFL.
I could see that happening.
I mean, the year one, that leg injury was horrific, and year two, the leg injury was more horrificer.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. I agree with you there. Number 77.
Okay, we'll go to 75, and then we'll.
Yep. There will only be 3 new playoff teams from a year ago. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that too.
I can agree with that. Number 76. Jahmyr Gibbs will win the Offensive Player of the Year. That's a tough one because if it wasn't for Saquon's amazing year last year, Gibbs, he's just that dynamic, and that offense is that good. I think the biggest thing, like I said last week, is what happens when you put those teams with new coordinators and what they do.
Yeah.
But the talent of Gibbs is there. So
I'm going to one up this one because
we got to remember, Offensive Player of the Year is someone who's a non-quarterback.
For the most part,
MVP is a quarterback. Offensive Player is a non-quarterback.
For the most part, unless you have 2 quarterbacks that are so good that that the voters try to split the baby.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens.
Nah, yeah, well, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, I agree.
But no, I think you're right.
For our Offensive Player of the Year next year?
I think the Offensive Player of the Year is usually either a wide receiver or running back, and
Brock Bowers
very well could. Very well could.
With Geno Smith, he didn't have a quarterback last year.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a quarterback and a receiver. You know, he's in a running game. He's going to be dangerous. He's going to be dangerous. And he will have a better season than Travis Kelce. So, sorry, I digress.
Oh my God.
We have to skip a couple.
So no, this one I'm not. It says 73. You will find a box inside the attic of your parents' house. Okay. Anyway, so 74. I'm skipping the other one for now because it doesn't matter about Doug Nussmeier pre-draft storyline shit. So 74. Penny Sewell will win the inaugural Protector of the Year award.
I don't know who that is.
He's the offensive tackle from the Detroit Lions. And he's a good one. I mean, I can agree with that. I mean, I can see it.
I want to say I love that they are honoring this because it does need to be honored. I mean that's good because guards, tackles, centers, them, some good ones, but they don't get any recognition.
Sure.
And to be like in 2026, you were the best at doing this. That's awesome. And I wish they had more categories like this. I can see it happening.
Yeah.
So,
All right, and I'm going to throw in one more bonus one.
all right.
I'm going to throw in the number one, and because we're going to think on this long and hard.
Okay.
So this will be the one that we do right before the season. So this is their bold prediction, and think on it.
Okay.
The Buffalo Bills will defeat the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl LX.
Yeah.
So we will think on that.
Got to think on that.
Yep.
I mean, no offense, but the Bills have lost every Super Bowl to every other NFC East team except the Eagles. I would say I'm gonna throw it out no, because if they played anyone from any other division in football, yeah, probably. But they're cursed. They're 0-4. They lost to the Cowboys twice, the Redskins, and the Giants. So, no. If they play the Eagles, you might as well just cash it in.
I will say one thing, and think about this for a minute, because this is what it says here. It says, predicting the Eagles will return to the big game is a begrudging move, but it is a recognition that nearly all the NFC frontrunners have brutal schedules. Philadelphia is the one team that can handle the rigors of such a slate and win ugly consistently enough to make the dance. Meanwhile, the Bills have an amiable schedule that includes the Browns, Falcons, Panthers, and Saints, as well as multiple cracks at the bottom rung of the AFC East. This slate will keep Josh Allen healthy and in berserker mode for the playoffs when Buffalo needs him most.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So that's their logic. But again, I think to the logic of what they say becomes the Achilles heel of what they say. Because here's the here's my thought process. Tell me if you think I'm right or wrong on this, Sean, and then let me know what you think.
I already know you're wrong, but go ahead.
So anyway, let me get rid of this and I'll bring up my full screen here. All right. So my thinking is this. When a team is battle tested, playing tough teams, and knows how to win close games against tough opponents, it's a lot easier when you're playing another tough opponent and your game is close. When you're playing less talent, lesser teams, when that pressure builds, you're not ready for it. And because you haven't had to deal with the pressure situations as much and as often, that's when I think teams can crack. And that's when I think teams that have those easier schedules, when you see them play in the big game, kind of like last year, when you look at Kansas City and the fact that they made the Super Bowl, we talked all year about Kansas City. That was a 15-2 team that could have easily been 10-7 or 11-6. And when they actually played somebody who was far superior to them, they got smacked in the face in Philadelphia. And so, you know, when you're talking about a team that's playing the Browns of the world, the Panthers, the Saints of the world, those kind of teams, are you getting a false sense of security if you're playing them and beating them handily? Okay, because again, the NFL is a week by week thing. You know, just because you're the Panthers doesn't mean you're going to blow them out. Okay, so let me preface that by saying that. But when you're a team that's 15-2 and you win all these games, are you really as good as your record indicates And do you really get a good look at the team you are based on the opponent you play? So that's all I'm saying. When you're a team like Philly and you had to play the Washingtons, you had to play those tough teams, and you easily handled those games, and you easily outclassed the class of your conference. And then you go into that game and you're head and shoulders above Kansas City, and you go out and you prove it on the field. So that's all I'm saying is you don't want to have a false projection of what could be. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I understand that. I think if the Super Bowl comes down to the Buffalo Bills versus the Detroit Lions, I think Buffalo wins their first Super Bowl.
I would love that. Not just because you think Buffalo wins, but I would just love to see two teams that have never won, and knowing that one of them is going to walk out of there with their first one. Yeah. Whoever that would be. Yeah, as a Bills fan, I want it to be Buffalo. But just to see two teams who have never been world champion and know at the end of the afternoon or evening, one of those teams gets to walk out with their first ever NFL championship.
Sure. Yeah. And I bust on Buffalo all the time. But I got to say, except for the two times that they faced the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, I was rooting for them with the Giants. I was rooting with them with the Redskins. Why?
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. Like I said, their best chance was to win was the Giants.
Yep.
The Bills versus Washington, I knew they had absolutely no shot. They had no shot to win that game. When you looked at the pregame introductions of that game, and you looked at the Bills defensive line get introduced, then you looked at the Redskins offensive line get introduced. I'm like, there's no shot. I mean, when you look at their offensive guard, and then you look at like Joe Jacoby or whatever, and then you see Jim Richer come out, who's like 5'9", and he's like this wide, and I'm like, you have no shot. The first Dallas Super Bowl, no shot. I thought the Bills were going to win the first one, and I thought the Bills were going to win the last one. I didn't think the Bills were going to lose twice to Dallas.
Yeah, that's that. I was like, wow, this just doesn't happen. And and I could see the Dallas after coming off that Super Bowl being like, we kicked the living shit out of these guys. We're going to do it again. I figured they're going to be overconfident.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I know exactly when we lost that game. The second Dallas game, the second Dallas Super Bowl. Not when Thurman lost his helmet and all that other stuff that happened in the beginning. We lost that game when we got the ball at the end of the second quarter, and there was like a minute and a half left, and we went down and tried to kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown. That's when we lost that game.
Yeah. Because
we had the no-huddle offense. It would take 20 seconds to get down the field and score, and we played it safe and tried to just get points, and then that was it. It was over.
Yeah. And that was BD. That was before Dion.
Yep, exactly. So.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching. We enjoy it. We'll be back next week. We're going to try to keep these shows in the summer short, but we appreciate everyone who tunes in. And so next week we will talk some more smack, go over some more stupid predictions about who's going to be wearing what on their fucking feet.
Yep.
But anyway, we will see you next week from the couch.
Take care.